Hey, this is Arvid Schneider for atats.com. In this tutorial we will be creating the matrix raining code effect, which is inspired by the movies, of course. It's only produced in trapcode particular and with custom particles, and this is how it will look like. Create a new composition with, name it like custom particle main, that you know which one you're working on. Size 200 by 200, 25 frames per second, and the duration is 50 frames. And the first thing you do is create a text and insert a number, because we'll start with the numbers from 0 to 9, which will be falling down. Then you have to change the color. The color I use is with this code. Just insert the code and you will get this green. The font is mcode15, which is downloaded from dafont.com. Add the animation value, which is character offset, which gives you the opportunity to change the characters randomly. And to get it random, you have to create an expression. You have to alt click on the stopwatch here and write the expression posterize time in brackets 10 1, and now the random expression math times random round and then random from -1 to 7. You have to add a semicolon and enter. Now it should create random numbers from 0 to 8, hopefully. Okay, then you have to create a nice effect to make a stylish matrix effect. You have to add a grid, or you have to search here for grid. It's much simpler. And add the generate grid effect on the text. Now it looks like this. You have to first overlay it to get a nice green shimmer or something. Make it smaller. By holding control you get a smaller step in the digits here, like so. And then you have to do it again. You duplicate it with Ctrl D or edit duplicate. Then you say stencil alpha, increase the border, and maybe feather it a bit. Something like this, and then it will change and have the grid effect on all layers, on all numbers. Then you have to add a glow. I just use a simple glow. It's right click on the text layer, layer styles, and then you have to choose outer glow. In the settings you have to change the color first to white and opacity to 100%. The size is how you like it, it's just like a subtle glow. So this is the custom particle for the main particle. Now you have to create a new composition. You go to project, new comp, you call it custom particle aux system, same settings, okay. And then what you do is you duplicate text you've done for the main particles. You go to edit, copy and paste it in the new created composition in the aux system and edit paste. Now you have the same effect in here, but what you'll do now is change the expressions tab and change the expression to posterize time to only 2 and the math random number just between 0 and 1. So what it now does, it changes only between these two numbers, and I think every 15 frames, every 11 frames. And there you go, now you have set up two custom particles which will be implemented in the particle system which we will be creating now. Okay, now we will create the main particle system. Go to new composition, add a preset whichever you like. I like the 720p, 25 frames per second, and change the duration to 10 seconds, which are 250 frames. And okay. Fit title type, you can turn it off. And then you have to add the custom particles we just created into the layer. And you have them here. But you have to hide them. Then you right click, new solid, call it particle main, comp size, and OK. With the solid we've just created, go to effects and add the trapcode particular effect, where you can see some nice simple particles. In the emitter tab, change the emitter type to box, and then you have to start changing the emitter sizes. Let's create 4500 emitter and Y. Let's say 2.5. For preview purposes, just turn this up to like 5000, and you can see it better. And in Z, to get a nice depth effect, just increase it to 10,000. Now you have some nice particles in front of the camera and some way in the back. And then turn it back to 100, the particles per second. And this is a simple setup. You don't want any velocity because the raining code they fall like a straight line downwards. No velocity, no random velocity, and no distribution. And just turn them all off. Next we go into the particle tab, where we change the live to 20. Because 20 we have a 10-second animation and we don't want to see any particles die off. In the particle type, we change the type to sprite, where our custom particles come into play. Change the texture to custom particle main, and the time sampling to start at birth and loop. Now we should get random particles which are just not really visible now. Increase the size to, let's say, 60. Now they're nice and visible, and you see they all change at random. And this is more or less all you have to do for the particle. Oh wait, just you have to put them to add so they get a nice glowy effect. Then you can close the particle tab, the emitter tab, and go down to physics. In the air tab, you have to create wind, so it's falling at constant velocity. The text is falling down at constant velocity. So in the y, so up direction, you add 500, and now the text should be falling down. Okay, now you see the particles start here. So you have to go back to the emitter and put the particles up a bit to, okay, let's say minus 2000. So here are no particles and they keep falling down like this. So you can see where this part is going. They keep falling, which is pretty nice. Then I added under rendering motion blur, and here in the comp settings put it to on, so you force it to be on. And let's see it a bit closer, and then you subframe per pixel and increase the number of levels to, let's say, 16, so you get a smooth motion blur. Add a little bit of opacity boost, let's say 2, to get a nice lit motion blur. Okay, now we come to the particles oak system, And for that we have to duplicate the particle's main layer, Ctrl D, and then rename the lower layer to Box System. Now we have the same particle effect on top of each other, and you can hide the main particle, so you only have to see the box system. I will turn off the motion blur now because the freezing particles won't have any motion, so it doesn't matter if it's on or off. Turn it off and then go into the OAK system and say emit to continuously. Now you'll see some particles rising behind the main particles. Because we have a main particle system already set up, just turn the opacity of the OAK system particles to 0. So you just have to see the streaks coming down. And then in the settings of the OAK system, you have to get a few changes. Increase the life to 10 because the layer is the animation is 10 seconds long. Velocity to 0, size to 30, so they are nice visible. The opacity is set to 50 on default, so let's put it up to 100. And now the tricky part comes in, where we have to change the custom particles to our others 0 and 1 particles. So you go back in the particle tab, which is in the top of particular, and change the layer to custom particle OAK system. And then we get 0 and 1, which is what we need. Falling zeros and ones. And then in randomness you have the opportunity to change the size and the opacity of the particles, which gives a little random effect onto the particles itself. So you see they are not all 100% opaque, and you get a nice randomness in there. And now if you turn on the main particles, you see the leading numbers, which are from 0 to 9, and behind it the 0 and 1 falling codes are created. Now if you want to globally increase the number of particles, you have to link the particle OAK system to the particle main system, which is done if you have to open all the tabs down here and go to the particular emitter settings for the one particle system and open it for the other one too. Effects, particular, and emitter. And you want the OAK system always to be the same as the main system, so you click at all, click on the stopwatch here, and take the wiggle tool and link it to the particles per second in the main particles. And you do the same for the emitter sizes and the position XYZ. I'll click on the stopwatch, wiggle, go up to position X and Y, linked, and the same for emitter size X, and for emitter size Y, and the last one is Z. So what we now did is we linked it to the particles, which gives us the opportunity to change the number of particles, let's say to 20, and the streaks will always be in the same position and will always look nice. For preview purposes, I would like to keep the particles per second number low to increase performance in this video tutorial. And what's coming up next is some glow effects for the particles itself to get a nice matrix look, which looks similar to this here. Okay, we first will change the color of the OAK system, and we just add a simple stylized glow effect and put the glow threshold to 0 and the radius to 5 and the intensity to 0.8. Okay, now we have a nice glowing effect, and now we have to create a simple background. You create a right click, new, solid, and make it a nice dark greenish color. Make it comp size and OK. Put it in the lowest layer and create a right click, new, light, point light, and intensity to 100 and press OK. And the light also has to go above the lowest layer, and toggle main switches and put the dark solids to a 3D layer. Now we should see a little light effect on the background, but it's not intense enough, so we will go into the settings of the light and increase it a little more, let's say 200, and you have a nice green glowing background. Another cool effect is if you change the transfer mode from the particles to add and from the Orc System 2, and then you have another nice glowing effect on the particles itself. Now with the transfer mode done, just pre-compose the two layers by layer, pre-compose, and call it BG for background and hit OK. Next we'll create a new camera with the 35mm preset. Depth of field is on and OK. And now what we can do is create a subtle animation, a zoom. You go to press P for the position rollout and click the stopwatch for position. Now a keyframe is created. Go to the last frame of the animation, and then you can zoom into it if you just subtle. Now this is going away, isn't it? Yeah. So it's the other direction. Let's say minus 800. For the final render output, you have to increase the particles a lot to get a nice effect. Now we have them on 20. I tried 500 and it looked really great. But render times, of course, increase with it, as well as the performance in After Effects itself. So if you go further in the composition, you see how long it takes for one frame to calculate, which is a bit too much, I think. So just decrease it to 300 maybe. And there you go. This is my input for the matrix code effects using trapcode particular and custom particles. I hope you learned something with the expressions and the linking of the two particle systems. This was Arvid Schneider, and enjoy.